Wednesday, you'll be working on your project 2 or chapter 2 assignment. I am having to be at the dentist. My sweetheart needs to have a root canal, and you're not supposed to drive after they anesthetize you. So, but the expectations for the assignment are in the assignment section, so I apologize. I'm going to see if Russell Stallings can fill in on that day. In the event that I'm definitely not going to be here, but he may be able to fill in case you have any questions. So you're working on project 2. Right now I'm trying out Camtasia on the computer here to capture the lecture content and see if I can get it to upload to Blackboard. So hopefully the sound will come out well enough. And we are going to be working a bit with still photography, bringing stills and text to life. And this is going to be an iPhoto and iMovie project. And the output from this project will be incorporated into the InDesign project later on. And so this will be an interface between the two. And it is a challenge. How do we bring stills and text to life? And one of the ways that, as you've already may have noticed in iLife, there is an effect that's called the Ken Burns effect. And that comes from a series of documentaries that Ken Burns did, the most famous being the documentary on the Civil War. And what they did in the Civil War documentary was incorporate sound that had been recorded in the 20th century and use that as a soundscape. But also there was voiceover, there was music, there were sound effects, but they also used not only interviews with people, but still photographs. And those still photographs were animated by such things as you're going to use in iLife and in the iLife suite. And so, and what this does, believe it or not, is that in some ways, because of the way that we perform these various functions on still photographs, we cause the viewer to suspend disbelief. And they stay focused on the photograph because it's actually doing something. So you're affecting the perception by starting even where someone begins to look at a photo and then training their eye to follow where you're causing them to follow. And we'll look at these effects in here. So the components of most exhibitions. Now, some of you have already taken the Curation 120, which is the introduction to curation, where we talk about we're curating for a contemporary exhibit as compared to a historic exhibit. And those are the two main focuses that we have in the 120. And generally what you'll see will be not only the titles and subtitles, this is if we are object focused now, of artist works. We have the stands or the displays on which the works are resting or are mounted on the wall or suspended from the ceiling, as many installation works are. We have the actual mounting hardware. That including your various screws, hooks, mounts, and the like. We have the labels upon which titles and subtitles and object text are affixed. We often have artist statements, right? Some small, and when we, for example, when you look at the senior projects this year, most of the projects will be accompanied by some small paragraph by the artist in which they are maybe describing themselves or the body of work they produce for that exhibition or show. Generally, at the very entrance of an exhibit, you'll see a curator statement, which is you as a curator, your thoughts, your rationale, your methodology, your theory, in essence, on what you have produced, why you think this work is important, and how it is important. And then you'll have acknowledgments. Those acknowledgments are anyone who may have contributed to the exhibit, various donors, artists, or anyone who's helped, anyone who assisted in, and this, we can look at this as the credits at the end of a movie. All right, and those credits will be even down to who bought the sandwiches, who supplied the lunches. I mean, it will be that minute. And these are really critical, particularly if you're related to donors or people who volunteer. Because many people will feel hurt. That, I did all of this for this production, and everyone else got thanked, but I didn't. And this is really important, acknowledgments, and we often don't think about that. Thanks are very important. And then it may be accompanied by a catalog. So the catalog can be two-dimensional reproduction, which includes all of it will include the titles and subtitles, artist works, labels, artist, curator statements, acknowledgments, and it may include an essay by some renowned expert or curator in the field. These are generally the components that you see in most exhibitions. So your challenge then, and that part of which you will start to work on today, is how do you transform two-dimensional images of three-dimensional objects and text into two-dimensional moving images that imply three-dimensional space. Because while a photograph may be two-dimensional, it actually is three-dimensional. It has a width, a height, and a depth. The depth may be 0.1 millimeters, but it still is a three-dimensional object. The image itself may be two-dimensional, but the object itself is three-dimensional. So how do you take all of this stuff and cause the viewer to suspend disbelief and view it as if they are right there? This is a challenge in training the viewer's eye to view on a computer screen this exhibition the way that someone who's walking through the exhibition may view it. Now, something about curatorial theory, we look at the mechanics, and this is something that was actually taken from studying people's behavior in shopping malls. When people walk into a shopping mall, their first inclination when they come to a T is to turn which direction? Right. So behaviorally, people tend to turn right. Even left-handed people will still tend to turn right. With that in mind, when you're laying out an exhibit, you have to think to yourself, people will want to turn right. But suppose the things that I want them to view are at the left first. Because we also have another way in which people move. Because right could also imply counterclockwise. Suppose we want them to move through this exhibit in a clockwise manner. We even need to think about how something exists in a three-dimensional space and how we would want someone to navigate that space. So even as we are using a Ken Burns effect, how do we train people to view that photograph or that image in the way that will maximize that effect, will maximize their perception? So digital exhibit components will include a cover. And that could be a digital still or video with introductory music. Will include transition effects, that should say plural. You'll have the exhibition title, dates, location, transition effects. You'll have a list of the artists featured, and then transition effects. And that's even before you move into the actual images. And in iMovie, these are what you will be producing. And the way we are going to lay out this first part of this project is that the objects you are going to be photographing are going to be primarily three-dimensional. There are at least 5 sculptures that are out on the dance circle. What are they? Okay, you've got a gone dancer. What else? You've got a buffalo. You've got a raven, or some kind of bird. Maybe a cormorant. What else?
Fisherman.
Okay, well, that's part of it. The wind chime. People often miss that. The piece by Rory Earler. What else? There's a, yes, totem pole. What else? Because you've got the Apache band dancer. There's another sculpture out there, figure. The deer dancer. There's also the sculpture of the people in a circle holding hands. So there are at least 5, I think that might even be 7 pieces of work out there. You're going to be photographing 5 of them. And that is going to be the context in which the part that we do for part 2 after midterms is going to fit. And so people will see the creativity of people who have been a part of IAIA, and then the other part is going to be the works that are being produced currently by people at IAIA. There will be a list of curators involved. In this case, it's going to be you. And for this first part of the project, if you want to work as a team with someone, if you want a tag team, you can work in a team of up to 3 people on the same project. If you do this, you have to understand that your project is married to whichever computer you're working on. In other words, suppose Shandi, Arlene, and Ellen decide to work together and decide to use Arlene's computer. It's going to stay resident on Arlene's computer. So if you're going to work in a team, unless you're using a laptop, know that it's going to stay resident on one computer. Or you could work as a team and then just talk about the ideas you're going to do, share your media files, and then compose it yourself on your own computer. So you can work on a team on one computer, or work as a team and all use your own computer for the compositing. So you've got the curators involved, the transition. You may have a foreword, right? A brief description of the exhibit and the message of that exhibit. I will be providing this text as the expert curator. So this information I will provide for you. But you will be inserting that. You will then have your own statement, which is ideally going to consist of audio and text. We want this to be an alive film. So the audio is you're going to record your voice or voices. And we will have audio recorders that you can sign out so that you get a pretty good quality recording. By the way, this is on Camtasia, and I will be uploading it and providing a link to the course too. So if you're frantically trying to write everything down, you miss something, it's all right. I'll make sure that you have the information. You will then have the objects, which will consist of video and still images. Because what you will be, and the video will be one short video clip. And that one short video clip will be, could possibly consist of you standing in the middle of that dance circle with the digital movie camera, using your arm as a tripod and holding it still, and then just turning the camera on and doing a 360 turn. Slow enough that you show the whole dance circle, and then it will end up, you'll start, say, at the library, and you'll end up back at the library. With artist statements, or I'm sorry, you have descriptive labels of each of the objects. Do not worry about the artist statements. I'm going to remove that. Because when we did this project before, there were artists who we were working with who are no longer here. You'll have credits and acknowledgments, your credits will include the Institute of American Indian Arts, the board of the Institute of American Indian Arts, and various donors of the works that are provided. And then closing audio and music. Kind of think of this as a short visual radio program. Have any of you listen to it, like you're listening to NPR and National Public Radio, and are you familiar with Goodman, Amy Goodman, or any of the other, whether it be National Public Radio or radio show, and it will start with an introductory music, a voiceover, you hear someone saying, well, what's coming up? Does he hear the dun, 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 dun. Hello, I'm Stephen Fenn, and today we're going to be talking with Patrick Hill on the wizardry of riding a bicycle to class in the morning. Pat is doing this as part of our fitness program, and we're going to find out how we can not only improve our physical health, but we can actually reduce our carbon footprint through adopting bicycles when we can use them as compared to using the automobile. And then you hear sound effects, and then you'll hear Pat talking. And then at the end of the program, the person will say, we're signing off, or this is we've been talking about, we've just viewed, and in between each segment, you'll often hear a musical interlude or sound effects. Does this make sense? Have you all seen this before, or heard this before? That's what you're doing. You're producing, in essence, like a visual radio show that is a catalog. And it becomes a digital asset. In other words, once you're going to be encoding it with various photographs, text, and the like, and then you will also encode it to the various codecs. You'll be producing AVI output, MOV output, MP4 output, and so you're creating digital assets that at some point in the future, there is going to be someone in 2090 in this class who's going to be listening to your recordings and pulling their hair out, figuring out how the hell am I going to convert an MP4? Because this also becomes part of the overall repository of work that is going to be IFA and their portfolio. So it's not just an assignment. This is real life, real world stuff. No pressure. But if you don't take yourself seriously, no one else will. So included in the project will be a short audio introduction by you, anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds. So this is something that you want to compose. Some people are good at just talking right off the cuff. Having been a journalist and having been in deadline pressure, I'm really good under pressure, and you'd be amazed at the shit I can invent in 5 seconds and make it sound planned. Some people need to script it very heavily. And when you script it, you want to make sure that you're scripting it conversationally, using conversational language. So avoid your 95 words. Talk with the people, even though there's no one right in front of you. Not happening. You want it to be approachable. You don't want it to sound like it's being read to you. So don't use a reader's voice. Use a conversational voice if necessary. Rehearse it, rehearse it, rehearse it, rehearse it, rehearse it. And for that matter, record it, record it, record it, record it, record it, record it, and take the best cut. Or you might have like one part of one recording you did and another part of another. That's the wonder of non-destructive editing. You can cut the audio part you like out of one file and paste it to the audio part of another. Stitch them together so it sounds like it was one complete audio file. You're going to need at least 4 still images, and that will be of artist works. I said 5 earlier, I'm sorry, it's 4. You can use beyond 4, we'll keep it in 4. So that will include the labels and artist statements. Don't worry about the artist statements. You'll use at least 2 video clips intermingled with still. The first video clip that I told you about is going to be the 360 of the dance circle. You could go to one of the sculptures and then do a walk around of the sculpture. And by the way, there's also a mural on the west side of the library building, of the northwest coast of Worrell, Spindle Worrell, that big circle you see there. All right, you could include that if you wanted to. But you have at least one of the videos will be the inside the dance circle, the other one could be a walk around one of the objects. This is going to be difficult to achieve. When I had this before, Dan Gossion was here, as was Stella Loretto. There's a sighting of them every now and then. I'm going to remove this section audio from at least one of the artists. And then we'll have an audio soundtrack. There will be music. Now, the music, if you're going to use music in a production that is going to be deployed for public consumption, what are things you need to be aware of? Respect is one. Copyright. So you might really enjoy an art sung by 9 Inch Nails. If you use that music without their permission, you would violate their copyright. In iMovie, as well as in GarageBand, they have various sound clips as well as loops that you can stitch together to create your own background music. And we'll go through that process on doing that. And those are, in essence, they are fair use for anyone. So anyone who uses GarageBand can use any of those loops and create a wide range of musical soundtracks. So we will we'll do that. I will also supply some, I'm a very good guitarist, and I'll supply guitar music if you want to use it for free. So it'll be acoustic guitar, by the way. So there will be no shortage of music to use or loops to incorporate. And the idea being to get you familiar with using a soundtrack, because that will be part of your documentation later on in the second half.